So, what is one of the biggest surprises people run into when building a new home? Well, it's realizing just how many decisions are involved in the design process. You may walk into the design center thinking you're picking just a few colors and finishes, and suddenly you're making dozens and dozens of little decisions that all affect how your home feels in the end. And what I've learned is that the homes that feel the most custom usually aren't the homes where people upgraded every single thing. They're going to be the homes where people made those selections, made them feel cohesive, intentional, and reflective of that homeowner's style. And of course, keeping the budget in mind. So today I'm walking you through how the design center process works, how to make builder selections feel more elevated and custom, and of course, which choices tend to make the biggest visual impact. Hey there, I'm Heather Williams. I'm a realtor with Elevate by Drees Homes here in the Nashville and Middle Tennessee area. And on this channel, I share home building tips, design inspiration, and behind the scenes insight into the new home construction process. So if you love new homes and you love elevated design ideas and learning how to make your home feel more custom, make sure to like and subscribe because I have a lot more videos like this coming. Now let's get into it. So yes, the design process can absolutely feel overwhelming at first. Even when buyers know they're going to be making a lot of decisions, I still think most people will underestimate just how many little details go into designing an entire home. Because beyond the obvious things like cabinets and countertops, there are all these smaller decisions that people don't always think about ahead of time. For example, things like cabinet hardware throughout the house or the countertop edges, door styles, lighting finishes, tile layouts, flooring transitions, and even stair railing styles can completely change the personality of a house. And when all of these decisions start stacking together at once, it can definitely feel intimidating. But this is usually the point where people start second guessing themselves, maybe overanalyzing, because now every decision suddenly feels so permanent. And I think another reason the process can feel stressful at first is because people are afraid of making the wrong decision. They start wondering things like, am I going to regret this later? Is this too trendy? Will this still look good 5 years from now? Do all of these finishes actually work together? And when you're making selections for an entire home instead of just one room, that pressure can definitely start feeling bigger. But one thing I always remind people is that you do not have to figure out your entire design style all in one day or all at once. Usually you'll make a few core decisions and everything else will just naturally start falling into place. And because your style starts revealing itself pretty quickly, your designer will be able to help guide you through this process so easily. So your design center appointments will happen after you're officially under contract for the new home. And the process usually starts with some of the biggest areas of the home first, and your designer will guide you step by step. Starting with areas like the kitchen, the primary bathroom, cabinetry, flooring, and tile, because these are the areas that tend to have the biggest impact visually and financially. And this is also where your designer really starts learning your style. After just a short amount of time, they start recognizing the direction that you naturally gravitate toward. Maybe it's more modern or more traditional, maybe something coastal, something with warmer wood tones, maybe something dramatic or something light and airy. And that guidance becomes really important because the goal isn't to overwhelm you with every possible option or to get you to spend as much money as possible. It's helping you to narrow down the options into combinations that make sense together. Because making a home feel custom usually isn't about randomly picking expensive upgrades. It's about creating a cohesive overall look. I think one of the biggest misconceptions about design upgrades is that people assume custom means being able to add more and more and more. But most of the time, what actually creates that higher end feeling is consistency. When the materials feel intentional together, when the tones work together, when the textures complement each other, that's when a home starts feeling elevated. For example, warm wood tones paired with softer flooring can create a really organic luxury feel. Black accents and dramatic contrast can create a more custom look. And even large format tiles tend to feel cleaner and more upscale. Statement lighting can completely change the personality of a room. And then you've got spa-like bathrooms that feel so luxurious, and the materials will feel calm and layered instead of busy. And a gourmet kitchen tends to feel custom because there's usually a lot of intentional contrast and texture happening at the same time, also keeping in mind the state-of-the-art appliances. Now, things like cabinet hardware, lighting, backsplashes, wood tones, these are all things that start working together instead of competing. And another thing that I think makes a home feel more custom and elevated is restraint. Sometimes people think they need room to have every huge statement moment, but a lot of higher end homes actually feel calmer and more intentional. They're going to focus on maybe one focal point per room, essentially, instead of having so many different overwhelming focal points. It's just going to be calmer, cleaner, and simpler. Maybe the color palette stays more consistent through the home with some accents here and there. And that consistency is usually what creates that timeless, custom feeling that people are drawn to. And this is one of the biggest things that separates homes that feel professionally designed versus homes that feel more builder basic. Even things like keeping flooring consistent throughout the main areas of the home can make the entire space feel larger and more cohesive. Sometimes the smaller design decisions end up creating the biggest visual difference overall. Now, realistically, most people are not upgrading every single thing in the design center or that they see in a model home. And truly, you don't need to. Part of that process is figuring out where you want to prioritize your budget. For example, model homes are designed to inspire. Of course, they're going to show a lot of options. They're usually showcasing multiple structural features and lots of upgraded finishes and design ideas to help people visualize what's possible within that space. And of course, different communities and different price points are going to influence those selections too. At a higher end luxury community in Brentwood, for example, they're going to showcase more upgraded finishes throughout because that model starts to align with what buyers typically expect in that market. Whereas on a lower or mid-range community, maybe in Mount Juliet, for example, they may take a more balanced approach with upgrades and selections. So the goal isn't for buyers to feel like they need to duplicate every single thing that they see. The goal is helping you figure out what matters most for your own lifestyle, your preferences, and your budget. And I also think it's important for people to remember that some upgrades have a much more bigger visual impact than others. And that's where we're here to guide you. So there are going to be certain areas that people notice immediately when they walk into the home. Things like your flooring or your kitchen finishes, your light fixtures, for you, your primary bathroom. And all of these are going to have a huge impact on how your home looks and feels. So it's not uncommon for people to prioritize areas like that versus maybe secondary bathrooms, for example. And this is usually where people start creating that more elevated overall look without feeling like they need to do absolutely everything. Because everyone prioritizes different things. Some people care more about kitchens because they love to cook. Some want to come and relax in a spa-like bath. Some care more about their flooring or their exterior curb appeal. Not to say they're not all important, but you're going to have different priorities, and you need to figure out what matters the most to you. One thing that's really changing the home building process right now is how much easier technology is making visualization. Tools like AI now help people to experiment with design ideas before they ever walk into a design center. You can take those inspiration photos, model home images, brochure renderings, or even screenshots from floor plans and start testing different looks and styles ahead of time. You could try it in different color palettes, different moods, different finishes, different combinations, And y'all, it's really just changing how we see things. So now when the buyer walks into the design center, they have a much better sense of their style, and their design appointments can feel much less overwhelming. It also helps people make more confident decisions because they've already started visualizing how everything works together. At first, the design center process can feel like a lot, but once you start narrowing down your style and seeing everything come together, it becomes literally one of the most exciting parts of building a new home, because this is the stage where your house really starts becoming your home based off all your decisions. And the homes that usually feel the most custom aren't necessarily the homes with the biggest budgets. They're going to be the homes where the selections feel cohesive, thoughtful, and personal to the people living there. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, because I have a lot more home building and design content coming. And if you're thinking about building in the Nashville or Middle Tennessee area and you would like somebody to help guide you through that process and be a resource along the way, feel free to reach out. I'd love to help. And I'd also love to hear from you in the comments below. Which part of designing a home would be the most important to you? Is it going to be the kitchen because you love to cook? Is it going to be that spa-like bathroom, maybe the flooring or the lighting? Or are you somebody who really focuses on that curb appeal and exterior design? Let me know what's your favorite part. And make sure to also check out my recent video about using AI to design a more custom exterior, because it ties perfectly into everything that we talked about today. And in the meantime, thanks for watching.